Let me go a completely different direction on this. We've been talking mainly since we are emergency folk. We've been talking about other agencies responding to our disasters. How can we keep our people motivated and excited when they have to go and do a standby while the public utility company's doing something? I can't remember how many times out in rural New Mexico, 105 degrees, I'm in full turnouts on air with an extinguisher while somebody's closing off a gas pipe. I hated it. I absolutely hated it, but it was my responsibility. How can we keep our people excited about reciprocating to some of these agencies? If we expect them to come to our party, how can we keep our people excited to go to theirs?
I don't know if this is on. Gas is very dangerous. I got burnt once in my career, and it was by gas, and because I wasn't taking it seriously. We went to a fish market. There was a smell of a gas leak, just minor. Went, and the cap told me to get the toolbox, the wrench. There was a shutoff valve. I went to get the shutoff valve. I'm under a table, and all of a sudden I noticed this is a fish market, right? There's a crab pot with a pilot light. Boom! He pulls me out, burned my eyes and stuff. So I never take gas for granted, and I would tell you next time you have to do that, don't have a water extinguisher. Get the the 1 3/4 inch out there, because a water extinguisher. So once again, that's our job as firefighters, is to protect the public, and that's how you build those relationships we were talking earlier. Is by that guy knows, hey, he's out there watching my back, because that's his job. So
yeah,
I hope I answered your
we would
question.
get called out real quick. We'd get called out for they're doing some work on a line out in the middle of nowhere, and he's dug the pit down, he's found the pipe, going to do that. But even something as simple as there's a storm and a power line down, and they've got the road closed, but they want the fire department to stand by. I don't see anything that we can be doing. It's electricity. I see it. The line's down in the street. But the power company asked us to be here, so we're going to be here, and we're going to do our best to keep everybody away from it. But there's always those grumbles of, I'm a fireman, I'm an EMT, I'm a paramedic, why am I here? Well, you're there because we're going to want them there when we need them. And it's hard. Even the young guys that I hear grumbling about it, I'm a young guy too. I've got 21 years left till I can even think about retirement. But trying to keep people motivated on, you're here from 8 to 8. You've been asked to go out and do something. Let's go and do it to the best of our ability. And a lot of people are doing it, but there's still a little bit of grumbling out there. So hopefully we can keep people interested in helping out.
I used to tell guys all the time, when we would look at, you would get these calls on the ambulance where, this isn't what I trained for. This isn't what I prepared for. This isn't what I expected when I came into the field. And I told them every one of those calls is an opportunity to practice your skill, is an opportunity to practice your craft. So, yeah, unfortunately this person has consumed too much alcohol, and maybe you feel that this is not really within your scope and caliber of work that you want to provide to the community. But let's do the assessment. Let's do the assessment the way we were taught how to do the assessment. Getting the vital signs the way we learned how to do it in school. And this is practice for that next time. Every time we touch a patient, every time we interact with the community, every time we respond to an incident, we put our gear on, we take it off the apparatus, we respond into somebody's home, we set up the monitor, whatever we're doing, it's practice for that time when our backs are against the wall and people really, really need us, because now we're that much familiar with our equipment and we're ready to respond.
Well, and Justin raises a great point, though. And we've all done a dozen standbys where it's 2 a.m. and you're staring at you're staring at
An empty street,
or a shelled out building that V shift got to burn down, and you've got to watch for rekindles. Yeah, right. And I think that's when you really see the value of these kinds of get-togethers, because in the cab of that truck can be some of the best discussions you're ever going to have in your life. I mean, what happens if it's a deafening silence because there's no relationships between the crew, they're crushing. But if you've done your upfront work with that crew, you can talk about maybe Joe's still having problems with his wife or his girlfriend, or how's your kid doing in baseball, or what's going on? Are you still driving that Prius? What do you think of
really
it?
good, though.
Is there? But how's the girlfriend?
I told my wife. I told my wife to watch this.
I'm just teasing. But I think that would be probably something that I think we've always in the fire service had one small spot where we don't do a good job of training our small unit leaders. We call them lieutenants. We're really, if you think of it, we're really like non-coms, because one day, you're riding backwards with the rest of the guys, you take a test and you're an engineer or a chauffeur or driver, and then you take another test and suddenly you're the officer. Well, you're still with that same crew. In a military mindset, you're more like a sergeant, because you're still with your guys. And if you have those, if you've been to their homes, if you've gone fishing with them, if you've had a few pints, on St. Patty's Day, or you occasionally go out and do something extra even during the shift, like, oh, it's a Wednesday, it's pizza night. We always do pizza on Wednesday. Those little silly things, or we always watch Thursday Night Football, or we always do this, and create those little traditions. That'll help those, innumerable calls.
Yeah. Well, let me ask this. You brought up something interesting about one day you're riding backwards. One day maybe you're driving the ambulance. You take a test, and all of a sudden you're the paramedic in charge of the crew, or now you're the lieutenant. I'm in a unique position where I may be going out as a paramedic supervisor on certain days in my service. How can I still be a member of the quote-unquote guys, and yet the next day be their supervisor? How do I make that disconnect? Or do I need to?
You don't. You become the biggest brother. Read the book Band of Brothers. You become the biggest brother or biggest sister. Mm-hmm. Not trying to be disrespectful to women by any shake of imagination.
Yeah.
That old mindset of you're an officer now, that's not really what happens. You become the overseer. You become the one they look up to for that support. You become the one, like Joe just said it. I got your back. Hang on a second. Mm-hmm. Don't get the can. Get the 1 3/4. Matter of fact, that's a big gas line. Get the 2.5. Matter of fact, let's get the deck gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy screws up, we're going to drown him.
Yeah.
I think it really. I think the acting captain role or the acting supervisor role is probably the most difficult supervisor role in any occupation, because you're with them, but I think if you act the way that you want people to act with you, for your captain or your supervisor, then people will respect you. They'll know that, hey, all of a sudden now he wants me to act this way. He didn't act that way, that makes your job a lot easier,
Leading by example.
Exactly.
Doing the right thing. Doing what's right.
And the golden rule is always good.
Exactly. Building community, understanding, doing what's right.
Yeah, and continuous, relentless pursuit of perfection. I mean, you spoke about it earlier when you were talking about the critique, how hard we are on ourselves. I think that's okay. Mm-hmm. Mastery should be our goal. It's unattainable, but what a great goal. I mean, everyone should want to die a saint. You're not going to be one, but you should try. You should try to be the best you can be all the time. If not, in this profession, you're dangerous. Mm-hmm. If you're not trying to get better, if you're happy with where you're at, that's a bad sign.
Complacency kills.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's complacency. It's almost like apathy.
Apathy.
Yeah.
Well, what's the old saying? I'll leave perfection up to God, but I'm in search of excellence.
That's a great line. I've never heard that before.
I just made it up.
Oh, yeah. Go use it?
Somebody Google that at home. Send us a note.
Yeah.
I ain't buying it.
Gentlemen, we're nearing our time here. This has been a great discussion. Do you have anything else you'd like to add on the topic of what we've been talking about?
No.
Community resources, understanding what our communities can do.
I think that we have some fantastic opportunities, that we can leverage within the community, and we need to open the doors of the station and invite people in and have them around the table, mm-hmm. and break bread and maybe barbecue or coffee and more informal instances where we can have an exchange and share information with everybody, because we have to look beyond the boundaries of police, fire, and EMS, but also the DPW, the water department, the CERT team, and all the other agencies that may come into play at a certain point. And the station is probably going to be pretty busy for a little while, but that's not a bad thing either.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I would just remind everybody that we always say that firefighting is a simple job, and it's not. And we have managed to take we've managed to simplify those building block tasks, but we have to know how to do each one of those with a great degree of skill and efficiency. and that the world today is a very complex place. And this technological age that we're in, that mankind has been in, this evolutionary process, allows specialists like us, firefighters, to be supported by law enforcement people and electrical workers and communications people in a very interesting way. It's a very symbiotic relationship, and we need to respect that, but we need to understand it more importantly. And the failures we're seeing today in technology are going to continue, and they may become even more catastrophic. Now they're building airplanes that can hold 800 people. 800 people. Can you imagine a failure of one of those aircraft? So I think we need to prepare. I think we need to prepare even more diligently in the past and not underestimate the critical role we play in making everyone else a little bit safer, just as they do with us. The man who programs the traffic lights, the person who paves the roads correctly so our road cars don't veer out of control in water drains. All of us contribute. And as long as we understand that and continue to collaborate and support one another, I think brighter days are ahead. I'm completely baffled by the growing wave of pessimism in the world, because it's so counterintuitive when you look around the miracles that we're all experiencing. I mean, God has put us on the earth at probably the most incredibly accelerated pace of improvement in the history of our species. Now, it may continue to accelerate, but I'm dang happy to be here right now.
Great.
So I would say enjoy it and keep studying, read all you can. Get your hands on the works of Decker and Perot and Waltrip and all the great guys that are out there writing today. Pick up stuff that doesn't have fire in the title. It can help you broaden your perspective.
No matter what it is, keep learning.
Keep learning, yeah, about all you can. It was fascinating watching the fellas set up for the shoot today. The cameramen, these wonderful technicians who are filming this, their attention to the lights and they're looking at shadows and all the complexity so that they can get this message out to people. Without them, we wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we were laughing because how we have our language, and they're saying, I'm on a kilobot 4.76, right? No, I'm on the 4.5 wide S555. And we're going, yeah.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, sounds great. Let's go get a potato chip.
Yeah.
But no, please, take the opportunities to watch shows like this and reach out. Contact Justin. Contact Joe. Contact me. You ask people, what are you reading? What are you thinking? Go to the conferences. Go to all the conferences. Firehouse, FDIC, TAC. Go to all of them. Go to anything you can get to. Don't enjoy every minute of it. It's a heck of a ride. Don't stop enjoying life for 1 minute.
Oh, Chief?
Yeah, I just, reemphasize with Bobby, this TAC conference is great because I've gone to conferences like this TAC, and I always went to the fire ones, fire engineering, firehouse, and I went to, kind of this with the different tracks, and I just opened my eyes up. I'm thinking 3, 5, and all of a sudden they're talking about Haiti, the tsunami in Indonesia, and it's like, man, there's a lot bigger, there's big disasters out there, and how do other people handle those? And from the medical standpoint, how do you arrange for treating 400 people a day?
Mm-hmm.
What are the security issues like in Katrina? And to just stay in this one little box, which we're good at, but we need to know what the other needs of the people we work with, EMS and police, and even now the big ones. You got to know how the government works, how the military, because that's who you're going to be dependent on. So I think you guys are doing a great thing by having this type of conference, and I apologize I couldn't make it.
Oh, well, thank you very much for pulling up a chair and having a seat at the table. It's been a great discussion, and thank you. And thank you to everyone in the chat room. Thanks for some of your questions.